Now then, it's another day and we're just on with making the motor mount that will fit on here. So you've got a piece of box section and 4 bits of angle iron that will create effectively what will be 2 T-slots. And then the motor will bolt onto there and the weight of the motor will tension the belt, hopefully. Anyway, let's crack on. So I've just cut through 1 web of that angle iron, and I've got to just be very careful to make sure that I cut these notches on the right sides, because I want 2 left hand ones and 2 right hand ones. Right, it's blowing a gale outside at the moment. It rained last night. Just looking here, we've got that repaired LED floodlight as a work light. So I'll put a link to that video on there. That is a really nice work light now, not too bright but powerful enough. And as you see, it's got a lot of LEDs. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try and put the various bits that I've been cutting together to make some sense. Of course, this is the motor mount, so bear with me on this one. So we're inside because of the wind. I think I've already said that. That's the piece of box section. These are the bits that I've been cutting. So that's a left one. So that fits. Like that. And we need that to be a right angle. There. That'll do. Now that's a left, this is a right hand one, and it goes like that. So now we've got a channel in there, so we can make a T-nut that will fit in there with a bolt sticking up, or a T-bolt sticking up, so we can mount the motor. Hopefully that now makes sense. This is why you need a left and a right hand, because the outside webs. And then we'll need to set the gap between these two. I think what I'll do is I'll fit all these and weld them all, and then trim the ends, and then put a piece of flat across the ends. So we're going to use 8mm bolts for mounting the motor in, but I'll want some slop in this, so that if I need to, I can move the motor like that or like that to align it. So I think we'll have a 10mm gap between these. So the next one, which is a left one, goes there, and the next one, which is a right one, goes there. Of course, this box section here will pivot on that steel bar that we put in place. So I'm just going to get on with that. So here we go. Now, I didn't want to do one of those long, laborious, all the steps through, all the bits of welding, etc, etc, but we'll just put this down and zoom in on it. So there we go, and if you flip it over, there are effectively two T-slots there, so that will do nicely. So before I fit this motor mount, I want to make sure that this rod here is parallel with the main shaft, and we're just going to make this up. But if you imagine putting that piece of box section on these two box section mounts. Now, because these box section bits, black box section bits with the tubes in, are commercially made, I'm assuming they're in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this box section away from the round bar that has been turned in the lathe, so it should be central, like that and like that. So the box section is parallel with this bar, and then measure, and I don't know whether you can see, but measure from the main shaft down to the corner of that box section, and that is 255. Let's just zoom out just a little bit. And then on this side we are 260. So that one wants to come out just a little bit. It's either out or lower. And then that is 260. Whoopee. We'll just cross-reference that. That's flush. That's flush. So I'm just going to mark that with a pencil as a datum point. Okay. that is removed. Let's just scratch a date and mark on there, on the end. There we go. So then we remove this again, and on this I've drilled a hole there and a bigger hole there. So when we're finally happy with this, I'll be able to put a bolt in there and put a bolt in there, but because that's a bigger hole, as long as it's got a big washer, then there's a bit of wiggle movement if we need it. So there's the motor mount, and then we can put this back on here and clamp it up again. And I'm just going to check that again, but it's just coming on to rain, so time to stop. Perfect. That's fine then. I point out that this piece here I've welded in place, so that is a fixed point now. So the only adjustment is this end, and I want this end to bolt on so that then if I need to I can unbolt it and remove everything. So now we're in a position to start experimenting with the drive, because we're all there. Now then, it's another day, and from a bit of brief investigation I think we're going to come up with a few issues. Still, what I want to do is check the overall gearing on various belt pulleys and various options, and let's see how we get on. I imagine for something like a say 1.25 inch drill, you'll want about 60 or 70 revs, so it drills nice and slowly, and you don't really want more than about 500 or 600 revs for the slightly bigger drills. But you know, 5/8 drill, probably about 300 revs will do. And if we're thinking about drilling a 1/4 inch hole, then I'll use my other pillar drill. So we don't have to have really fast speeds. So let's have a look. The main thing I'm concerned about, or I'm keen to keep, is the fact that this here is almost level with the end of the main shaft. I don't want anything sticking out the back here unnecessarily, just because when you sort of mount this drill, say in a corner or up against the wall, you know, the more that's sticking out the back, the further it sits into the room. So having the motor here rather than down the bottom is brilliant, because previously my other one of these drills, there was a huge big lump sticking out the back which pushed the whole thing forward quite a long way. Anyway, let's just put the motor in place and see what happens. So that looks a natural place for it to be, but we got a few issues. One is this is just missing that, so it means, in fact, it just nearly touched then. It touches, no, that's it, it just misses. So we have to be halfway across this pulley here, which is on the crown, which is fine, but we can't get onto that one. But we've got lots of ratios here, so I think the thing here is what is the ratio? So let's have a look. Okay, and we've got the keyway upright there. So I'm just going to count these. We're on straight through, so we're on the high ratio on the gearbox. So I'm just going to work that round and see where we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 1. Okay, let's write that down. 7 to 1. So therefore it means on the low box that'll be 70 to 1. I'll just go and get the calculator. The motor speed divided by 7 revs equals 400 revs on high speed, and motor speed divided by 70, 40 revs. Of course it is. Right, that's good enough. We could maybe do with one about 100 and one about 600, but we wouldn't need any more than that. 40 revs is ample for a very big drill. So let's just try the next main shaft pulley down. We don't need to use any of the different sizes on the motor, because if we go for a lower size on the motor, then all we'll get is slower. And it may be alright here to get an intermediate there by using the smaller pulley, but let's try the smaller pulley on the main shaft first. So we've got the mark there and the keyways at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How are we doing? I think it's probably 5.5. It's definitely not 6, so it's 5.5. Okay. So we've got 2,800 divided by 5.5 equals 500 revs, and therefore it'll be 50 revs, I'm assuming. Let's try it. Divided by 55, yeah, or 51 revs. That's pretty good. And we could actually go on the smaller pulley as well. Let me just pan round. There's room there, you see, to go on the smaller pulley to get faster speeds again. But we can't get on the big pulley, but we don't really need to. The only issue with this lot is the motor spins the wrong way. So we're going to have to have a look in the box and change the connections to the capacitor. It may be simple, it may be difficult, it may be possible. Sometimes inside the cover there's a label, but the older the motor gets, the more likelihood that that label has disappeared. So I've done the obvious and turned the motor round, but it sticks out the back more. It sticks out at least another 4 inches. So that's not really acceptable in my eyes, but it will now spin the right way. So just whilst we're here, let's just see what the speeds are on that big pulley. Okay, I've got it set on the big pulley, and I've got a mark on here. So let's just see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 and a quarter. So those are the speeds we've got at the moment, and then on that big pulley we had 2800 divided by 8.2, 341, 340 and 50 and 40 and 34. 34, I think that's a tad slow. And the 340, well, I prefer a faster one. So let's just set it running on that.